lead generation hacks and how do we win new clients with ease, right? And again, at risk of repeating myself, basically I am a mechanical engineer. I worked as an investment banker before starting Griddle. And I've been running Griddle as its chief executive for the past 5.5 years. And the presentation that we're going to see today has been written from our experiences as an agency with some amount of research by Hiren, who's one of our team members who helps me with all of our outreach and with our sales. Another disclaimer that I would like to put in before this conversation starts is that this presentation is going to talk more about generating sales qualified leads rather than just stopping at marketing qualified leads, right? So we're going to talk about SQLs rather than MQL. And so of course MQL is covered under SQL, but so we're taking it to the SQL stage, just an FYI.
Mm-hmm.
So overview, basically we start off with a fairly important question, which will kind of close during the super hack later. But we start off with a super important question, which is, do you even need more leads, right? And then followed by what are the things that you should have before you start generating leads? Some basic lead generation activities that almost everyone is aware of. Some key hacks that we've learned along the way, followed by the super hack. And then we'll open it up to questions, or even during the webinar, we can have questions if there are people who are asking on Facebook comments or over here on chat with Zoom, right? So starting off with, so the intuitive answer to this question, do you even need more leads, is always yes, right? Because everybody wants to sell more, but it should not be so, right? For an agency, more often than not, they're limited by the resources that they have rather than the sales capacity. And when you're limited by the resources that you have, which is, let's say 5 people, 10 people, 30 people, whatever the case may be, you may be able to generate much higher revenue and hence profit by focusing on better leads rather than just having more leads. And so having more leads it also means that you will have to put more resources into their qualification. You will have to put more resources into scoping. You'll have to, and so a lot of things come along with having more leads, right? And so it's important that we realize what our limitations are. If we genuinely need more leads, in the sense that we have a healthy bench strength, there are people who are currently available and can work on projects, then for sure, we should go ahead full steam and then start acquiring more leads. However, if our resources are the current constraint that we have, then we may need to focus on quality of leads, which also we will be talking about later in the presentation, rather than just, filling the top of the funnel up with more and more people, right? Because it actually does more harm than good, because you now got to stress yourself on both sides, which is your sales as well as on the fulfillment side. Right. So that's the key question that I want to start with is that, do we even need more leads, right? And so if the answer is yes, then we move forward. So here are some 3 key things that we need to have in place before we start generating sales qualified leads or start acquiring more leads, right? And so a lot of times what happens is you start spending on your different channels, which could be digital, which could be content, which could be attending events, which could be acquiring databases, without actually having a couple of things that are absolutely mandatory set up. And so we'll dive a little deep into all of these 3 things. So first is processes, then we look at assets, and then we look at clarity, right? So looking at some of the prerequisites before generation or starting to generate more leads, the first thing is that we need to have processes in place, right? So imagine what skill level or what understanding will your lead have when they are coming through different channels that you're acquiring leads from, right? So if a lead comes through you through a referral, if a leads comes to you through an event, if a leads come to you through a social media platform, what kind of understanding, what kind of idea about your service do they have? And then you've got to create a process in order to either educate them or nurture them or warm them up, right? And so that's the first thing. So I would start by creating some workflows in draw.io or market plan as well, to figure out what are the key activities that you've got to do for leads who fall under certain skill level, who've been acquired through certain different kinds of channels, right? The second thing, and this is the most surprising, right? So the second thing is to understand what questions could they have and create assets around that. So the assets could be, let's say, pitch decks. They could be testimonials, videos. They could be something as simple as having your website properly written, your social media pages, your blog, and so on and so forth. But a lot of times we start the sales process without actually having the material that is required. So as an agency, if you're offering 5 different things, and if you start acquiring leads for that, then you've got to have either separate pitch deck or a one master pitch deck, which explains what are the benefits of all the 5 services that you're offering. You've got to have separate testimonials or testimonial videos on those services before. You've got to have a website that lists out those services properly. And so just make sure that those assets are there before you start investing into generating more leads. Because if you do not have these things, it would mean either of 2 things, right? So one is that your life cycle, your conversion time frame or turnaround time is going to be higher, or you're going to lose more people than you could, right? And so both of them essentially will result into higher customer acquisition cost, which would mean that to maintain your profit margin, you will have to charge higher for your service. And agency business is already fairly competitive, right? So just make sure that you have the assets with you as a prerequisite before you start acquiring the leads. The third thing, however, is giving clarity to your internal team, right? Creating kind of an internal knowledge base helps, in the sense giving clarity to them about pricing, giving clarity to them about benefits of a particular offering. If the people who are qualifying on your agency's behalf do not understand the basis on which they are supposed to qualify on, or do not understand what the client needs are, do not understand how to ask for budgets or how to ask for timelines, then again, it's essentially going to lead to higher conversion timelines or lost leads, which means that if your team is unclear, then your acquisition cost again goes higher. So make sure that your sales team is not left without an answer, that there is a resource somewhere where they can ask a question. It could be a person as well. So you can basically tell your sales team that, hey, these are the things that we typically talk about. If you have any questions, or if a client asks you a question that you don't have an answer to, just reach out to me. So the knowledge base could be an individual, or knowledge base could be a proper knowledge base where you answer all the questions that typical clients asks. But either way, your sales team should have a resource, whether a person or a document that they could go to and ask the questions that clients have asked them, right? So these 3 key things, which is having your internal processes, having assets, and giving clarity to whoever is working in a client-facing job role, are prerequisite to any attempt that you make in terms of acquiring leads, right?
Okay.
So just so that in this slide, what I'm trying to do is I'm just listing out all different ways in which a typical agency would acquire leads. So we'll not spend a lot of time on this. So these are the different channels that you could use. So you could have cold calling, or you can acquire leads to social media pages, advertisements on digital platforms, getting referrals through existing clients, generating content, sending out or blasting emails, and attending events, right? So these are not even hacks, right? These are some basic sales related or marketing related activities that you've got to do, right? So in case if you're not doing a couple of these things, you may want to start trying out. So coming to genuine hacks, right? So coming to the lead generation hacks, the first, so we'll be talking about 6 basic hacks that have worked really well for us. So the first is looking for channels that offer disproportionate growth, right? Then we'll talk about positioning yourself as a thought leader, offering some things for free, working with cold calling partners, automating your lead generation by using different tools, and then taking a long-term view, right? So firstly, we'll talk about disproportionate growth, right? So a very simple way of thinking about this is, what are the channels that you can use where the amount of effort that you have to put in is less, disproportionately less than the amount of results that you can get out of it. So a simple way to think about this is, are there agencies around you who serve your target segment but offer a completely different service? So as an example, in Griddle's case, when we were running the IT agency, we would partner with a lot of digital marketing agencies, or we would partner a lot with design firms or design agencies, because we knew that if there's a potential client who's designing a mobile app, there's a great probability that they would want a development partner as well. If there's a company that's getting the digital marketing done, surely they'll have some amount of tech requirements as well. This works great in two ways. So one is that you can offer a revenue share to the agency that you've partnered with, which has given you clients. And secondly, the agency that you've partnered with gets to boast of their partner network to their clients, right? So their clients also feel that designing the mobile app is not the end of my conversation with this agency. They'll also help me get this built, right? So there's disproportionately less amount of effort that you've got to put in to acquire clients, because the client essentially already has been acquired. Another big help that this also does is that you get a lot more context from your partner than you would by talking to the client themselves. So some things on the context could be, what is the paying capacity of the client? Typically, what are the payment cycles that they look for? What are the budgets? What are the timelines that they are looking at? All of these things that you would typically have to talk to the client about and build a trust profile are eliminated, right? So there's a significant so the sales cycle is significantly reduced as well. So there are a lot of benefits of finding partners who serve the same target market, but offer a different set of service. And I would strongly recommend that you build a partner network as such. And it could also be a barter, because a person who's getting a mobile app developed will also need to market it at some point. And so you can also create your own partner network around your agency as well. The second is to become a thought leader, right? So a lot of times what we do is we use tools like we use Google Ad Console or Google Search Console to figure out what are the keywords that people are typically searching for. We look at questions that are written on Quora and Reddit. We go to Uber Suggest and then get keyword ideas or hit title ideas, and then start writing articles around that. One thing that is important is that while that could be a good way to do some amount of SEO, it does not help you to position yourself necessarily as a thought leader in the space. As thought leader in the space, you've got to find those ideas or those things that are not talked about by many. So there are two ways of being thought leader in any particular space, right? So one is to elaborate on an observation that has been missed by many. So that could be one. Or the second is to not necessarily curate, but essentially make a long list of a fairly complicated problem and offer as a very simple solution, right? So as an example, you will see, if you go to Neil Patel's website on who's one of the digital marketers, you will see he'll have a title that says how to set up a WordPress blog, right? Or how to set up a WordPress website. And that article itself could be a book. So he's basically
his articles are quite lengthy.
Yeah, very lengthy. And so what he does is he does the hard work for you, right? So instead of writing a 1200 worded article, which is a good word limit for SEO, what he does is writes a 10,000 or 12,000 worded article by just doing the hard work on your behalf, right? So going out there, searching for things, researching things, and then bringing it all together in one place, right? Which means that he's saved me a couple of hours of my work, right? So, or more than that. So there are only these two ways, right? So one is making the observation that most of the people have missed, and second is to basically curate or write one article that, or whatever content piece that you are creating, one place where you kind of brought all of it together. And so if you keep on doing both of these things along with the SEO, so whenever you are deciding to write a content piece, figure out what its purpose is, right? If its purpose is to help you with SEO and to just use the keywords, then go ahead, by all means, through Search Console, Quora questions, Uber suggest, and the article for 1200 words, right? That's great. However, if you want to position yourself as a thought leader, then these are the two ways that you can go ahead with. The third is, and this is something that I cannot say it enough, right? I cannot stress enough, is to offer something free to your clients, right? Or potential clients. So write on your website or wherever it is, just say, hey, your first SEO audit, we'll do it for free, and then we'll tell you how to fix it. So pay me to fix it. However, your SEO audit is for free. Or if you're looking to build a SaaS product, I'll give you a 30-minute consultation call for free. And then we can take the next step. What this does is that, so if you look at most SaaS products as well, the reason why it is free to sign up is because the idea is that they'll hook you onto the product. In our case as an agency, the idea is to hook them on in an inbound way, where it is their intent to talk to you, and it is not a sales call, right? So you're not trying to sell them your service. You're just trying to tell them how, what are the areas where they need help. And I'll be elaborating on this at a later part of the presentation as well. But free offerings are a great way to break down the barrier of a person not wanting to speak with you. Even though they want your service or they may need your service, they may not be looking to speak with you. And so free offerings are a great way to break that barrier down. Right. So see what are those small services that you can offer for free. At Griddle, what we would do is that we had a separate landing page where we would target people who already had applications, right? And so they would land onto that landing page, and then we would say, hey, we'll do a technical audit of your product, and we guarantee that we'll save your server, or we'll reduce your server bills at least by 5 to 7%. Typically, we would end up reducing that by anywhere between 15 to 18%, right? Just through a normal audit report. And that builds such an enormous amount of trust, because they've been working already with a partner who's been working with them for, let's say, half a year or a year. And here comes somebody who, with some amount of superior knowledge, is for free, is actually reducing their costs, right? And so then they want to know that what else do you offer, right? And so that works out really well. The next is see if you can partner up with cold calling freelancers, right? So there are a lot of freelancers out there who will, and this is something that's very, very specific to Indian agencies. So Indian agencies typically suffer, or let's say Eastern agencies typically suffer with two key problems, right? So one is that all of us, we've got this accent, and so it's difficult for somebody from the West to understand exactly what we're talking about. And second is, or there's a lot of cognitive load in understanding the accent that we have. And then the second problem is also...
Is it really? I find it easy. I find it quite easy.
Oh yeah, maybe because I'm also I'm not talking in, I mean, at least me, I'm not trying to...
Sometimes people from India talk with way bigger accent.
Yeah, absolutely. And so either way, even if it is not, it's very, very clearly identifiable that you don't belong in that geography. So that's one, and the second problem is, of course, that of time difference, right? So you cannot do cold calls during their afternoons, or somebody's afternoon in the US, or somebody's early morning in Australia, for that matter. And so cold calling partners or freelancers work really well. Basically, essentially what happens is that you give them, or you explain to them what are the services that you offer. They more often than not also happen to be better than better than you in some cases, because they've been doing cold calling for a while, right? And so they know what are the hooks, how do you write the cold calling scripts, and so on and so forth. They have a better accent. They are in their time zone, so they are able to kind of follow up with them at the times that are required to be in. And but see if they are open to working with you on a commission basis. Typically, they would ask for a fee upfront. So what I would recommend is that if you can convince a couple of them to work with you on a commission basis, the commission is going to be much higher than the fee that you would have to pay them. And so that's a great point for convincing them. However, it ensures success, right, in the model that you are engaging with them.
Yes.
So this solves two major problems for you. One is that they will themselves find out leads based on your customer target profile. And they will also be able to call them the way they expect, the way your clients would expect to be called. We've already done a separate webinar on sales automation. And so I'm hoping that, so I've just written over here that it will be available in the same playlist as well. So bring in as much automation as possible. So integrate every tool that you're using and make sure that your salespeople do not spend time updating the CRM. So automate as many workflows as possible, right? And so this does not necessarily relate to bringing in efficiency in your sales process. That's one, of course, a key aspect to it. However, there are opportunities to bring in automation in lead generation as well. So as an example, one of the ways that we also even now generate leads for our agency business is to use two tools together, right? So we would have a premium account with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and then we would use another tool which will essentially scrap all the LinkedIn contacts. So you go onto your LinkedIn Sales Navigator profile, and then you put in all the filters that you have in the pane that they allow you to. So as an example, it would be, let's say, founders of companies that run digital marketing agencies in Australia that are anywhere between 20 people to 50 people, right? And so it would give me a list of all those decision makers, and then I would just kind of run this plugin where it would go out and scrap email IDs of these people, and then generate a list for myself, right? And then we would start sending out emails. So instead of having a person who kind of goes in and drops in an email or goes in and creates an Excel sheet of database, there are better ways, or cheaper, more economical, and much more accurate ways of automating even the lead generation or potential kind of database generation aspect of it. The last hack over here is to take a long-term view, right? And this is much more of a nuanced hack than it is a normal hack, because this is something that has worked for us so well, where what we would do is we would offer partnership to our clients, right? So in agency's case, more often than not, what happens is that you define what are your scope of services. So let's say if I am to develop an Android application for you, I will define that this Android application is to have these 10 functionalities. These 10 functionalities will have these 5 sub features, and so on and so forth. I will design that, build that, and deliver it to you, right? So that's typically how an agency transaction would work. However, one of the things that we realized is that more often than not, the contact that you're talking to, or the client that you're talking to, the decision maker that you're talking to as a client, may not understand enough about productizing the service that you've offered them, right? As an IT agency, they may not know what are the bells and whistles that are required around actually taking that application live on the Play Store and then having users download. So they may not know what is the correct CRM to use. They may not know how to schedule drip campaigns. They may not know how do they make sure that the users are engaged. They may not know the best ways to onboard a user. And so all of these bells and whistles that are required around a product, and this is specifically for technology product, and same are the cases with design and marketing as well. So what we would do is that we would make them realize that these are certain things that we've been doing that for for over 5 years and for 25 other products that we've built thus far. And since we've done that across different verticals, so we've done that in fintech, we've done that in SaaS, we've done that in e-commerce. We understand what does it take for you to acquire your users, for you to engage with your users. And so what we propose is after the first scope of work is done, is to get into a partnership, right? Where you take some amount of equity. If you believe genuinely that idea is going to work, you take some amount of equity into that company, against which you offer your resources or your services at cost. So this does two things. One is that your equity in that company ensures that they are significantly invested in this. Secondly, you do not have to worry about long-term work for those resources. So let's say if you built a mobile app, which needs a 6-people team to maintain and manage it, including the server and all of that. So all those 6 people are now working on that project. And then I can focus on growth for other projects as well. And again, at the same time, since we've entered into an equity transaction with them, then that client also will refer us as many clients as possible over a period of time, because they are now invested into a relationship with us and not just a transaction with us. So I would recommend that you, and again, so this is very, very nuanced. It depends from the product to product. It depends from client to client. It depends on a lot of factors. But see if you can take a long-term view, right? See if you can stop seeing all of your services projects just as transactions, right? See what could be a deeper engagement from your side and from their side, right? So, and then this is the super hack, right? So most of the agency websites that you will see, most of the agency pitch decks that you will see, they'll talk about what they offer, right? So they'll talk about SEO, they'll talk about website development, they'll talk about mobile app designs, they'll talk about brochure design. But the approach of creating any asset that you create is to see it from the customer's point of view and solve their problems, right? So how do you solve their problems? So instead of, and there are really great examples of these websites and presentations. Just earlier, I was looking through Active Campaign. Just earlier, I was looking through another, I think campaigncreator.com or something like that, which is a great job of looking at their own product or their own service from a customer standpoint, right? So you cannot sell a feature, right? You've always got to sell a benefit. And so make sure that even in your conversation, you don't talk about the features that you offer, but you always talk about the benefits. So even in, let's say, Griddle One's product case, I don't talk about that you'll be able to, e-sign your proposals, and you'll have templates of proposals, and you'll be able to send invoices and get paid. I always talk about, reducing turnaround times of your sales by 15%. I always talk about, getting paid faster, because I'm talking about the benefit that a user will get, that you'll get paid faster. And these are the features through which you'll be able to attain that benefit, right? So it's important to think about it from the client point of view, how they see your service, and then position your service on your website, on all of your assets, as a solution to their problem, rather than just a set of the offerings that you have.
I would like to point out about the last slide.
Sure.
Here that I recently read quite interesting statistic that people actually buy, as you mentioned, solution to their problems, or something which can bring them closer to their goals and desires.
Yeah.
And there was a really interesting number that 70% of people who purchase any software never use the software. Right? They just saw it as an opportunity to bring it closer to their desired dream, right? So it's really important about that you understand your customers and that you communicate your solutions very, very clearly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so just and it's not that difficult to do, right? So just thinking about it so what if you did not know what you know as an agency owner? Right? What kind of uncertainties would that bring to your mind? So let's say if you don't know anything about digital marketing, and you had to, for whatever reason, you had to, let's say, get 1,000 new members to PitchGround next quarter, and just give a random example, then what kind of uncertainties would be going through your mind, right? What kind of questions would you have? And if there's a website that answers that questions, or those questions, and shows you a path to get there, then you're attracted to it, right? So you want to have a conversation. So it's fairly easy to do that. And so the last thing is essentially just trying to tie into the note on which we started this webinar, which is to experiment and see which channels are working for you, right? So you don't, as an agency, you don't have to do SEO as well as content, as well as events and social media and website and all of those things. You need to have some basic structure ready. You need to have those assets ready, but you don't have to go full steam ahead on all of those channels at once, right? You need to experiment and see which channel is bringing you the most profitable customer, right? So I come from the land of Gandhi, and so Mahatma Gandhi had a saying, right? So that the customer is always right, and I used to always think that the customer is always right, until one day when one of my client made a small inclusion in that, and so he said, a customer is not always right, a profitable customer is always right. And so that there's an important distinction. So you've got to figure out which channel brings the most profitable customers. And profit does not necessarily have to be measured in money, right? So there could be different types of profits. So one profit is definitely money. And then you could have a second profit, which is, let's say, helping you develop a capability, right? So as an IT company, there was a time when we did not write code in Python, right? However, when we got a client, we were open to working with them at cost, because we knew that we would be able to then start selling services to the next project on Python. So that is also a profitable customer, right? So because from the customer standpoint, while they are not paying me enough money or more money or enough money for me to make profit, they are basically putting in trust in my company that we'll be able to write code into something that we've never written before, right? So that's also another thing that the customer is essentially giving me. So think of profit in different ways. At different stages, you may have different priorities. If this quarter or this year, your priority is to scale. So your priority is to go, let's say 30% growth here on your agency. Then profit is in those customers who are able to give you a larger volume of work versus unit profit, right? If this year your target is to do, let's say, 25% EBIT, then profit is in finding those low ticket size customers who will work with you, maybe not consistently, but pay you double the rates. If you want to expand your capability, so you're doing, let's say, e-commerce right now, but you then also want to start doing SaaS, then profit is in a customer that will give you less money, but then put more trust in you and then let you start with that, right? So you can define profit in different ways according to what your agency's growth plans are or stages. However, you need to figure out what those channels are that are giving you the most profitable customers, and then focus, like laser focus on them, right? So instead of doing all of these things, just do a couple of those things and then work more and more on those things. So there are, and so the next thing is this is a testament to that fact that our technology agency, even as on date, right? We've been doing this for 5 years now. Even as on date, does not have a proper website, right? So it's just a website where we talk about what we do, some little bit, but no conversion rate optimizations done, no separate landing pages have created. There are some forms that we've created. We receive queries a couple of times a month. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, because our website is not the way through which we acquire most of our clients. We acquire most of our clients through referrals, right? So we don't do social media, we don't do SEO, we don't have a great website. However, we have a great pitch deck. We've created very, very rich case studies of all the work that we've done in the past. We've been very, very selective in choosing the kind of projects or the clients that we work with. And that's been the core reason why we've been able to grow from a 7 people team about a year and a half ago to about 45 people team that we are today, right? So you don't need to do all of that at once. I plan to fix the website sometime soon, probably a couple of months after the launch is done with PitchGround. I'll be fixing that. So in no way am I advocating that you should ignore certain chunks of the things that you've got to do. The only thing that I'm trying to say is that you need to know what channels are working and then just double down on those channels, right? So super great relations with your clients.
Interesting thing what Gary Vee is saying, that you should identify the white space in your industry. So for example, I don't know, if you're selling accessories for motorbikes, right? So there will be some really classic channel, how all other companies are doing it. So what you should do is that identify this white space, a channel that companies in your industry are not leveraging at all. So it can be a podcast, right? People on motorbikes listen to radio, listen to music, listen to podcasts. So maybe that will be your channel. So always think about not what everybody is doing, but also what you can do differently, and where is the white space in the industry.
Sure. Yeah. And the other thing, just to add to that, is that how can you do that better as well, right? So one thing that I had also kind of learned was that every company has got to be its own media company, right? So no matter what you do, you've got to be your own media company. So in the sense that you've got to create enough content, you've got to put it out there, but you've got to identify those channels, as you rightly said, through which you can acquire more clients, or through which you can acquire quality clients, and whatever works, right? So going back to the previous webinar that we did on sales automation, where we talked a little bit about identifying the target customer, right? So when you're creating your user-centered design canvas, and when you're creating your empathy map canvases, which tells you what their fears are, which tells you what their motivations are, which tells you what they hear and feel and think, those are the things that will essentially give you pointers to know which channels are possible for our service or for our offerings to work for them. Right? And so doing those exercises are essentially like sharpening your blade, right? So
yes.
Or axe rather, before cutting the tree. So if you spend genuinely enough time thinking about those things, understanding the clients, the other things essentially follow suit. So that's it. So these are some of the hacks that I wanted to share with you today, and would be happy to take any questions that if you have.
Really actionable again. Yash, thanks a lot for preparing all this. Again, a really nice presentation, really nice flow. But I don't see any questions. Usually people from India ask the most questions, but you are celebrating now. So maybe that's the reason why is everybody busy with their families and so on. So I would like to ask you, I know that it's quite unexpected, but do you think you could give us like a little sneak peek to how Griddle looks? So people will get to know a little bit more about it before they will join to tomorrow webinars?
Oh, sure. So shall I just share my screen and start showing that to you a little bit?
Yes, of course.
Just give me one sec.
So once you start sharing your screen, I will ask you a question from Steven, who just asked a question now. So ready whenever you are.
Yeah, just one sec.
Of course.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Oh, yes, I see it. Okay. All right, the question from Steven. Can you post a link to these pitch decks? Yes, I think we can, Yash, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would be happy to. So, or you guys can do it. You guys write much better copies than me. So yeah, absolutely. I'll share all the PDFs with you, and then you can post it as a separate link.
Okay, and the follow-up question from Steven was, Integrating dozens of software tools in a simple automation workflow seems challenging. How does a small agency do this?
So one of the good ways of going about it is to use Zapier as much as possible.
Or SyncSpider.
Or SyncSpider, yeah, absolutely. And if you don't find your integration on SyncSpider, they've got an amazing place where you can go and ask for a particular integration.
Yes.
And if it gets enough upvotes, they're sure to build it. But the idea is that is that all the list of activities and the list of so they all of them work on a very simple protocol, right? Which is IFTTT, which is if this then that. So basically for you, the outcome has got to be in one application, right? And the incoming flows could be from 5-10 different applications, whichever that you're using. And so what you can do, that one application could be Slack, could be Griddle, could be HubSpot, could be whatever product that you choose to start using. However, so when you put something like a SyncSpider along with all the applications that you're using, it centralizes, and then that one application kind of like becomes the brain of what's been happening with your organization, right? So instead of creating Excel sheets and all of those things, a great way is for you to just integrate through a SyncSpider. That would work best.
Yes. Okay. Steven, everybody, if you have any more questions, just feel free to ask us. But Yash, in just 1 or 2 minutes, give us a little sneak peek, because this will be really detailed webinar tomorrow about this tool, about Griddle and how to use it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So very quickly, so this is basically how your dashboard looks like. You have quick idea of where your invoices stand, which statuses, how many proposals are in which stage, how many leads are a part of which stages, as well. So as a decision maker of an organization, as an admin, this gives you a quick view of where your organization stands right now, right? Which is followed by some static cards that we have created. So basically you can give us feedback, report an issue, join our Facebook community, see our roadmap, ask for a custom solution. So a lot of those links as well around here, which basically make us a lot more transparent product and how we work with you. Moving on to the leads section. So you can click on leads, which will show you in a format of Kanban, where how your sales pipeline looks like. So who are in discovery, which are qualified, which are in conversation, negotiation, closed one, and so on and so forth. You can also see your customers. All of your customers in one place. And then when I click on a particular customer, so let's say when I click on Marvel as a particular customer, I'll be able to see who are the people, so their basic profile, who are the people who I'm working with.
Straightforward, I like it.
Very, very simple, very straightforward. So I'm working with Nick Fury and Peter Parker from Marvel. I can add notes, invoices, proposals, all the files, reminders. Will be adding statements over here very, very soon as well. Then you can go to your proposals, get a list of all the proposals that you have, or see it in Kanban view, so you know which proposal in which status right now. So how does the proposal pipeline also look like? So which are draft, sent, opened, whatever the case may be. You can check out invoices. So fairly simple creating of new invoices or recurring invoices. So before you do all of this though, the time that you sign up, the first thing that I would ask you to do is to set up your workspace, right? So set up your workspace. Workspace is your organization. So you can put in the name of your company, the legal name, your color code for invoice customizations, your logo, the other
you will
users.
walk us through it tomorrow, I believe, like with everything in detail, how to do it.
Yes, but so that's kind of where we are. You can set up billing, you can set up other stuff as well. But yeah, it's fairly. I mean, I don't know what to show you first because.
Yeah, I know. So let's keep it for tomorrow. So I believe that people are already intrigued. So make sure that you will join tomorrow and you will discover everything. So let me show you how you can do it. So today we talked about lead generation hacks, win new clients with ease, and tomorrow, big day, Griddle 1 is launching, detailed walkthrough and Q&A. So if you have any questions about Griddle, if it's for you or for your use case, your agency, make sure you will prepare all the questions and you will come to this webinar and you will ask us. You can just go to griddle.pitchground.com. It will take you to this landing page where you can sign up, or you can, of course, watch us on Facebook, and we'll be answering questions both from Facebook and from Zoom as well. All right. So once again, griddle.pitchground.com. So Yash, thanks again for amazing presentation. This was insightful. Really like it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Jakub. Yeah.
let me check if you have some more questions. Yes, one question from Steven. Intuitive and clean UI, great. Where is the tab for integrations? Steven, I believe that, I'm sorry, but you will need to wait for tomorrow for this.
Yeah, I so want to answer this, Steven. Jakub's not letting me answer, just FYI.
All right. I don't see any other questions. So everybody, thanks a lot for joining. And I hope that I will see you all tomorrow, same time. I believe it's the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, tomorrow, Griddle 1 is launching. If you're an agency, if you're a solopreneur, marketer, if you need to manage your clients' lifecycle management, it's a tool for you. So make sure you will join tomorrow.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jakub, for today. And we'll speak again tomorrow. See you soon.
I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks a lot, Yash.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.